comfortable learning, and comfortable learning is important, but the most important thing for the next 4 years is uncomfortable learning. So when Patricia says, you know, your son or daughter is going to talk to you about enrolling for classes, and their classes not just the ones that they took already and they know they can do really well and be a ringer and Spanish 102, even though they've taken 16 years and lived in Madrid for 4 years. You know, the ringer problem, because you know that's the kind of thing that people do in high school. But if you do that in college, it's just plain dumb. You know, we have the quarter system. The reason we're starting right before Thanksgiving or whatever is we're on the quarter system. So your sons and daughters are going to take, you know, 46, 47, 48 classes, not in the rest of the world where it's only 32. So they have no excuse not to challenge themselves and engage in uncomfortable learning in the classroom. But even more important than that is engaging in uncomfortable learning outside the classroom. So talk to them about this. You know, who are your friends? And if it's the same old people of the type, or even the same people if they came from a big feeder school, you know, challenge them on that. That's not what you're paying all this money for. You know, you're being prepared for the world, and you're not going to be prepared for the world if you're not prepared to deal with difference and embrace difference and respect difference. And that's an important part of what happens. You also should encourage them to, you know, join the clubs. You mentioned we have this organization, we have 400 of them. You know, sign up, not just for the normal things. You know, if they did debate, they could do it again. That's great. But do something else. And particularly people, you know, who are just not very athletic, you know, sign up for a club team. Sign up for an intramural team. What, 80% of our students play intramurals here. So, you know, have your son or daughter do that. And if they're more on the sports side, then have them sign up for the chess club or something. This is really a rare opportunity. Just think about it in your own lives. When else do you have 4 years to really recreate yourself to be the kind of young man and woman that makes everybody proud and serves this country and the world, indeed the world, so well? So those are the kinds of things you do. The other thing is we have speakers every week, and we have concerts. You know, being in school of music, some of your sons and daughters are probably in it. It's one of the great music conservatory type education. So, you know, they have how many, 4 or 5 concerts a week. I go to them. You know, are they the Chicago Symphony? Not quite, but some of them will be in the Chicago Symphony in a couple of years. We have a theater program in the School of Communication that's arguably, along with NYU and 1 or 2 others, the best, not just in the country, but in the world. If you ever go to a Broadway show and you look at the playbill, you know, where did you go? Northwestern, Northwestern, Northwestern. This is a chance for 4 years to go to these plays for free, you know, and see them before they go on Broadway. So tell your sons and daughters, you know, go to the concerts, go to the athletic events, you know, and cheer on not just football and men's basketball, but the other 17 varsity sports as well. We have luminaries coming in every day. You look at the Daily Northwestern and you see the big speakers we have over and over and over again. And ask your sons and daughters, are you going to those speeches? You know, and you know, we're going to have a whole bunch of things coming up right after the presidential election. You know, how do you find out about these things? I just mentioned the Daily Northwestern. Well, it's not going to surprise anybody, given that we're home of the Medill School of Journalism, right, that we have an incredible school paper, many of whom the reporters are Medill students, many of whom are not. It's truly a great paper, and you could subscribe to it, or you can go online. And my only caution is that another thing that presidents talk about, probably deans too, is that, you know, how much we hate the local paper, you know, the school paper, because, you know, they're always trying to they're not going to put in a headline, Shapiro did something great. No, everything we mess up. They also do very funny caricatures, kind of a caricature to start, so kind of a caricature of a caricature. But anyway, so my only thing, and in conclusion, I will tell you, as you help us continue to be engaged with your sons and daughters, you know, engage with the community. Another way is to subscribe to the Daily Northwestern, or to look at it online. But here's my cautionary tale, that when you read that, don't get so upset that you call us on Monday morning, because every week it's, oh, they messed up this with the fraternities, they messed up this, whatever. So I'm going to conclude with a story that presidents like to tell about how we're treated. You probably never heard this story in our local school papers. And it has to do with one day a president gets a phone call from an enterprising reporter, the school reporter, and the school reporter gets the president on the phone. He says, look, you know, we know a lot about your public life because we see you in the fraternities and sororities, and we see you all around campus and everything, but my readers really want to know what you're like as a person. That's always a little scary, but I want to know what it's like a person. So we decided the perfect thing. What we're going to do is we're going to find the next day you take a day off, and if it's okay, I'm going to go with you for that day. And I'm going to write about exactly what makes you tick, Mr. President, what makes you tick. So the president says, well, I'm taking off, a week from Sunday in the morning because I actually like to fish. You probably don't know it, but about an hour from here, story goes, there's a lake, and I have a little rowboat out there, and I'm going to go out there. If you meet me early in the morning, I'm going to be out there fishing for a couple of hours, and you can come and you can write a story about what the president's really like. The president as fisherman, right? The whole thing. And that's exactly what happens. A week goes by, a week from Sunday, the reporter shows up, he goes in there, comes to the president's house, they drive an hour away, they go to this beautiful, pristine little lake, nobody out there, it's just a beautiful day, they go out in a little rowboat, they're out there, right in the middle, and the president takes out his rod and reel, and he makes a big thing and casts out in there, beautiful cast. And, the reporter's looking and saying, well, it's pretty good, pretty darn good, whatever. But unfortunately for the president, it immediately snags on some floating debris. So the reporter kind of rolls his eyes, I'm a fisherman here and stuff. So the president is nonplussed. The president turns to the reporter, hands him the rod and reel and says, just hold this, please. The president stands up, steps out of the rowboat, walks on top of the water, over to the log, disentangles the lure, walks on top of the water, all the way back, into the boat, hands, the reporter gives him back the rod and reel and everything. He doesn't say anything, the reporter doesn't say anything. Everything else goes normal way. So and a couple of hours later, they leave, he drives him back, drops him off on campus. Turns out, as most places, the paper comes out on Monday around 11 o'clock, and usually in president's offices, you have a reception area, right? And there are hundreds of papers out there for distribution, and the president's thinking, boy, he saw that happen, and I just wonder what they're going to do in the paper. So, he kind of sneaks out, as I do, and you probably do too, every time about 11 o'clock to see what they said about me and what picture they drew of me in the paper. And he kind of looks at it and takes it back, and he opens it up. There's a banner headline, a third of a page, 3 words, President can't swim. So, I can tell you I'm not the best swimmer in the world. Patricia's probably not the best swimmer, but in conclusion, I just want to tell you that, as she said in the beginning, thank you for trusting us. And we take that trust unbelievably seriously. And we're going to do the absolute best we can at Northwestern to make sure your son and daughters have the best experience you can possibly imagine. Thank you.